guys get something?
No, that was me.
Since mine's off, it wouldn't matter.
So, yeah, I might want to get to your written stuff.
Go away.
But first, can you just give me some...
Go away.
Yeah, really, go away. Some, like, basic information?
Sure.
Where were you born?
Petersburg, Virginia.
Hughesburg?
Petersburg.
Petersburg, Virginia.
Right.
In 1943?
I was born in Petersburg because that's where one of two...
Go away, Milo.
Go away.
Go away, Milo.
You can't rub his neck and tell him to go away. Go away. My father was in the Army in the Quartermaster Corps, and there were two camps or forts at which they trained quartermaster people, and one of them was in Wyoming and one was in Virginia. And he was assigned to the one in Virginia, so that's why I was born there.
So where was he coming from?
He had lived in New York. He and my mother had lived in New York City, and they went there, and I was born in 43.
On an army base?
On an army base, and he went overseas a couple of months after I was born and came back when I was 3.
Huh. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So you saw him, I guess, on and off those first few years, but you don't remember it.
Didn't see him on, or I didn't see him on. He was in Europe.
You didn't see him at all until you were 3?
Right.
For the first 3 years of your life?
Right.
Huh. How do you feel about that?
Would have been nice.
And so Kay was on that army base?
Kay was on that army base, and she moved back to New York City, and we lived in an apartment hotel with her parents, my grandparents.
Apartment hotel?
Well, it was the Hotel Salisbury is what it was called, on the street right opposite Carnegie Hall on 57th Street. And you could rent apartments long-term there.
Was this Ray?
This was Ray and her husband Sam.
Would that be the apartment that I visited Ray in when I was little?
No, that was after her husband died and she bought a smaller apartment on Madison Avenue at 62nd Street.
So you and Kay moved in with her parents?
Right.
In an apartment in New York?
Right.
In 43, as soon as you were born?
In 43, I think it was 8 or 9 months old, something like that.
And do you know how long you lived there?
Until I was 3, and we moved to Chicago when my father came back from the war.
And why Chicago?
Because he had a friend from college by the name of Manny Florsheim, and Manny Florsheim's father owned Florsheim Shoes, and wanted a trainee in Chicago, and my father had an undergraduate degree in math and a law degree, and so Manny Florsheim's father thought he'd be a good candidate for a, sort of a management trainee.
I thought your dad worked for the Sears Roebuck catalog.
He worked for Spiegel catalog.
Oh.
Because once he got to Chicago, Mr. Florsheim and Mr. Spiegel, who were buddies, were talking, and Mr. Spiegel said he had a better job for a young man with a math and law background. And so he hired my father instead.
Did your father ever consider practicing law?
He practiced law before the war. He got his degree in 1934 and went to work writing the New York State Constitution, which was being done at that time in Albany. Albany or New York? I don't know. Must have been New York.
Was this back in the day when a law degree was an undergraduate degree?
No, it was 3 years after college.
So he went to Harvard.
Went to Harvard, graduated in 31, and then went to Harvard Law School, graduated in 34.
And he went to Harvard very young, right?
Right, he was 16 when he went as a sophomore. He transferred there from a small college in Pennsylvania.
Because he was brilliant?
He was very, very smart.
Was he one of the first Jews at Harvard, do you know?
I don't know about first. There certainly weren't very many.
Was he on a scholarship at Harvard?
He was on a full scholarship. He was an observant Jew from a small town in Ohio.
He must have done extremely well that first year of college.
Extremely well, what?
I mean, to that first year of college,
Yeah, I'll bet he did.
to earn a transfer and a full scholarship.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about that first year, except that it happened.
And so then you said then he finished Harvard Law and practiced.
In 34. He didn't practice the way Mom practices. I mean, he didn't work in a law office. He was hired with another group of young lawyers who were rewriting the Constitution of the state of New York. And that doesn't take you all the way from 34 until he went into the Army, which I think was 41.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what else he did during that time period.
Was he drafted in 41?
Pardon?
Was he drafted?
No, he would have enlisted. Actually, it would have been 42.
And enlisted in the quartermaster corps, did
In
you
the
say?
Quartermaster Corps.
So high. I don't know anything about the Army, but higher
Quartermaster
ranking.
Corps is supplies,
Mm-hmm.
providing supplies,
Using his legal mind to organize things.
right? Or legal and math.
And this was already in preparation for D-Day, you think?
When he went overseas, I think that's what he was doing, was working on D-Day.
And so it was during those years in New York when he met Kay?
Yes, that's right.
And what was she doing? She went to college, right?
No, she did not. Her brother and sister both went to college, but she did not.
She came from the Goldschmidts, which was a wealthy family?
No, well, Ray's family had some money. Sam Goldschmidt's family apparently did not.
Mm-hmm. Were they a well-to-do family, or just in comparison to Julian?
I don't know.
I don't know where I have this idea, but I thought he was marrying up in terms of social.
In terms of money, he certainly was, and social. Kind of like your mother.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Quite like my mother.
Right,
I married a Harvard boy.
right, exactly.
And so his background is Polish and Russian, and hers is German?
Her background is German. We believe his is Polish and Russian, although we don't know for sure. One of the people I talked to when I was researching his family mentioned Lithuania.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a 90-some-odd-year-old man telling stories.
I thought you had the name of a small town near the Polish border that you had suggested
No.
he might have come from.
No. He never talked about where he came from, neither did my grandfather. Can I let him out?
I will. Why do you think that was? I just pull hard?
No. There's a lock you have to unlock.
Go, Milo.
Now, tap his butt with your foot.
Go. Get out there. No? Hold on, I'm just gonna stop this
Go
and
away.
start it again.